Okay, so Cesar Jimenez from the Independent Living Andalusia, thank you for agreeing to participate in this interview. It is part of Emil's work on a special issue of the International Journal of Disability and Social Justice, intended to mark the 50 years of independent living in 2022. The topic of the interview and the special issue is independent living in Europe and beyond, past, present, and the future. So let's start with some questions about the past and the lessons we learned from these 50 years of independent living advocacy. So yeah, my first question would be, how did you first learn about independent living?
Okay, thank you for thinking about me and for having me here today. It is a great pleasure for me to represent my center. About your question now, I would say that I first heard about independent living at the beginning of 2007 when the most similar thing to an independent living act was just passed in my country, Spain. Ban regarding personal assistance, which was and still is my priority. It was and still is horrible. I went to this conference to hear about it, and it immediately got my attention. That was the question, wasn't it?
Okay, so my understanding is that you got an unusual path to learn about independent living compared to many other activists, because you didn't learn about it exactly from disabled people, but from the government and from the actions of the country already.
No, wait.
Sorry.
Maybe I didn't explain myself properly. The conference was given by some people in the independent living movement who came to Malaga to give this conference, not by the government, by a government agency or anything. As a matter of fact, they came the same year to ask me what research I wanted, and they didn't even know what personal assistance was.
Okay, now it's clear. Thank you. So yeah.
I think they still don't know, by the way.
Well, this is a big topic, and I hear it all over Europe that still people don't really understand, what is the true independent living, what is personal assistance, and things like the institutionalization are misinterpreted every day. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, let's continue. We will come back to that at in a later stage. So, okay, so you heard about this and you found it very interesting. And yeah, was
It was about 15, wait, yes, about 15 years ago.
yeah, 15 years ago you heard about independent living. So you have
Right.
quite a good experience already in the movement and in the philosophy. So what was the impact of independent living in your life in these 15 years?
Well, as I said, I had just become, or I didn't say my, but I had just become a disabled person, and I didn't really know how other associations work. This, but this looked like a very interesting choice for me because I wouldn't have to be a big bother to my family. That was the main reason I chose to follow it, and it seemed very exciting at the time. I did see that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, I like because every time we hear a different, story from people, and this is something which is, yeah, I mean, interesting to see how, how people got involved and how it got impacted by the independent living. But it seems that everyone, everyone who really got into that, into the movement, really felt some kind of impact and some, and the an open mind, an open-minding experience that wow, this is possible.
Well, you see the immediate impact was I didn't have any future or any personal assistant, so I was basically a vegetable, and I want to receive 17 hours of personal assistance, and since 2015 I am receiving more than 40 hours a week of personal assistance. So I think that is pretty good. It is not enough, obviously, but it is better than if I were in the independent living or striving for a better personal assistant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, you said I mean about the hours you get, which as you said, it's better than nothing, but and it's I mean you said it's pretty good, but also you said the phrase it's not enough, which means that there is space for improvement in Spain, and especially because if I understand well and correct me, in Spain you don't have a universal system, but it depends of the region, right?
No, in fact, I have person assistant, but I have disabled because we usually ask for funding to have a group of 8 people, and depending on the autonomous community, you can get more money to fund it or less or not. It depends on where you live. So we are not really equal before the law.
Yeah, I see, and that's a bit sad that with the phrase you said, we are not equal before the law. But yeah, I mean, I guess more and more communities and regions are getting and improving there, right? I was following one webinar, and there was a guy from Barcelona, which I know it's
Right.
different region from you, but they were saying, "Oh, we do independent living," and then they say, "Yeah, we have it. We have, I don't know, 8 people or 20 people, a very small number, And he was very proud, but so it was clear, it's not they don't have the understanding yet, but they want to do something.
Right. Well, they want to do something, but they still want to keep control over our lives. They don't, they, I think, they are afraid of giving people too much to take full power and control over their own life. I don't know really why.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean,
And before I said I have around 40 some hours, and that it was good, but it is good because I live with my parents. I wouldn't be able to live by myself on this condition.
yes, yes, indeed. I mean, 40 something hours are not enough for a person with high support needs, like also myself, to live, by independently. And I mean, it's good. You have the family and you are able. There is a lot of people who cannot do that, and they end up in institutions,
Right.
which is
And my parents are not going to that forever. I am aware of that, and time is passing. Time is passing on that sense, in that sense.
yeah. Yeah, it's also something similar also. I mean, in our case in Greece at the moment, we also, live with our parents if we have the possibility. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have the possibility, then you have problem. But yeah, I am an optimistic person, and I think that thanks to activists like you and like the Independent Living Andalusia and other organizations in Spain and also in Europe, we are moving forward and improving the situation for a lot of people. So I wanted to ask you, Cesar, in this advocacy and in this fight you and your colleagues have in Spain, who have been your allies in this process and who has been afraid of independent living and why?
As I said, the government in general who has the power is afraid of giving people too much, and with respect to our allies, we have not done a great job.
Okay.
At least I can say that feminist groups are very close to us, some of them, some female groups,
Okay.
because they see the discrimination against our two groups are very similar.
I see this is a problem we see also in other places. I mean, from the one side, the government, for some reason, yeah, doesn't want to give too much to disabled people. And it's not necessarily financial the reason. It's also mental. And yeah, I mean, also the challenge you said when you said when it comes to allies, we haven't done so great. This is something yeah, we see also in other places, even in Greece, if I can say, for the country I am living, we see it reflected that it's not that easy to build, partnerships and with the same mentality and, to believe in this because kind of what we are fighting for is a bit, yeah, extreme for some people, also for families, no?
Yeah, for families too, because they believe they are going to live forever, but they're not, but they are not, obviously. Our families think they're very powerful, but for example, we are four siblings, but three of them are married. One of them only was married before I was a disabled person. The other two had to wait till I was upset after becoming disabled.
Okay. Uh, well, what can I say? Yeah. Well, let's move to the next part of the discussion and in the whole this process that we are discussing and these developments how do you assess the role of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? For example, we said about the government and not being so supportive and stuff like that, but we have the convention. What is the role of the convention?
They are trying to change some laws, but I think the convention is, is still a good theoretical framework, but it hasn't really, or in fact, developed itself in my country. And I am talking about accessibility for personal assistance or independent living general, including community-based services or institutionalization, which is very, very misunderstood, or even education, where there have been some nice development, but there is still a long way to go to achieve a sort of equality.
Well, you say there is a long way to go, and I am thinking that for us, from for foreigners, who are not in Spain, when we think about Spain, I mean, at least myself, we think, oh, it's a very accessible country. We see it, taking awards about accessibility. Oh, they have also good trains. Oh, they have also sexual assistance. Oh, they are very innovative. They have this and that. Because this is what we see, in the European level. This is what is shown. But from what you say and from what we know from, the work with Anil, is that this is only the surface, and that the real life when it comes to independent living is not going that well, even in a country which has quite developed disability movement. What do you think about that?
First, I would like to be clear that when I said before we had a long way to go, I wanted to say we are only getting started, but we have most of the way to go, not a long way to go,
Yeah.
if you know the difference. We are only getting on the right path to achieve our independent living. And about transport and all other things you have been saying, they are, well, let's say we know how to sell the country, but living here, you can see not everything is as developed, developed as it should.
Okay, yes, I see. And I want to stay on what you said. We're just getting started and we have a long way. I'm still staying in this because I was wondering, okay, you have a long way to go, but you said you are more or less 15 years in this, advocacy field, in the independent living fight field, an activist. Do you see any changes in this process in these 15 years? How things are and activism changed since you begin until today? Is there any difference? Any, I don't know, improvement?
Some people have got very complacent with what little we have achieved, and so they have decided to focus on other things, such as what you just said, sexual assistance. But I think we are a long way that or to even think of that as for as long as we cannot enter and enjoy being in a restaurant or a house. We cannot think of going beyond that. As of improvement, whether I have seen some some good fix, but I say, as I say, they are only passes or just in that ocean.
Okay, I see. So yeah, there is yeah, you insist and you want to make clear that there is a lot of work to be done, and that's I think very clear. But do you have any what? Let me put it differently. What are your, I mean, personal or organizational, or as a movement in the country, biggest achievements when it comes to independent living so far? Even if these are small achievements, but I mean, even something that it's achieved in these 15 years or so. And what are the biggest challenges, the biggest failures, if you have failures as a movement, something you would like to happen differently? But let's stay on the achievements probably.
Well, I did one and it is a big improvement. I think disabled people, all disabled people can vote, and that has cost a lot. And the people by reason of their disability can be hopefully sterilized. And I think those are two improvements in this. And people are slowly, slowly, so- slowly taking conscience on what we have to do. I once read that now with the convention, it wasn't a matter of if we improve something, improve equality, but rather it was a matter of when will we improve or achieve equality. And I think that little by little, perhaps too slowly for my taste, we are doing it. I know that I will not see it in my lifetime, but I am not disturbed by by because the same thing has happened to all other oppressed groups throughout history. We are just beginning to change, so we cannot expect more than what we are doing this
Well, I mean, what I can say, I think that, I mean, I hear this also, for example, from people in Greece when they say we will not see, the real change in our lifetime. It's for the future generations and things like that. But in the fact, what I believe personally is that we don't really know. I mean, you never know. Maybe a new government, maybe a new, maybe something which we cannot imagine at the moment will bring a change much faster. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say let's be optimistic and believe in the change. Indeed, we need to work a lot, both disabled people and the society and the government, because, yeah, we cannot waste 1 or 2 generations until we achieve something.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that we should stop fighting fighting for our improvement, but that it will be a long task and we will not see. But that doesn't mean we should slow down on our target. For example, if you see women, they are just beginning to achieve some sort, some sort of equality, they started about 200 or 300 years ago, but that doesn't mean they haven't stopped their fight during all this time. I am not being pessimistic
Yeah.
at all.
Okay, with this clarification and with this message that we should not stop our fighting no matter what, and yeah, the example also of women, I want to go to the present, to leave the past. We discussed about the past and how it worked. Now let's go a bit to more to the today. And what would you say? Because you said we should continue and be active and do stuff. What are the main tasks of independent living advocacy at the moment? What would you say should be the priorities? What is needed now in Spain in order, to achieve to fight for independent living?
For one thing, I do not see the convention being embraced totally and beginning to, let us say, fly on its own or with the total support from the government. They don't actually believe in it, and people do not actually take us as totally human beings. And I think that is a problem. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, I mean, you answered it partially. The question was, what are the main tasks of independent living advocacy at the moment?
Okay, and even though I see that big institutions have developed into further group I think community-based service like personal assistance should develop more for them to completely or almost completely disappear. Besides that, I could say a lot of negative things that I still think should be improved, like things in transportation or things like that, or personal assistance or accessibility to our environment or to the needed information and communication technology. There is so many things to do that I don't know where to start.
Yeah, I see. So many things to do. And yeah, indeed, I mean, independent living, it's not just personal assistance or DI, which I mean, are of course super important, but it's a general aspect. I mean, what if I have personal assistance and I cannot go out of my home because nothing is accessible or I cannot move in my city? So, as you said, there is so many things that needs to be, in parallel, improved and worked in order to achieve independent living. That, yeah, there is a long way to go, as you said. And what are the barriers in Spain to improve these things? So what is now holding back Spain and or your region from moving to the next step? Is it people? Is it is it the mentality of people? Is it, I don't know, the culture of Spain? Is it the money? Is it something else?
I think the culture of people is hey, they need to be of disabled people as real as full human beings. That is one reason we are hesitant to use disabled people as a word. Because we are full human beings that happen to have an impairment, but that doesn't take away our condition of human being. And I think people think at some point or when we reach that impairment, we sort of lose some of that human condition.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted because my nephews do some noise in the background. So yeah, I understand what you mean, and it's a bit sad to think that in 2022, there's still this approach and this understanding of people, and that some are not exactly the same humans as the other. That there is better people and worse people in a way. So yeah, there is a lot of work to be done. And if I may say, this is a work we need to do. I mean, judging from my country, the society here, not only in the general society, but also even in the disability community itself.
I agree with you because I think there but it is a big part of our own task by mixing with people or participating in all areas of life and things like that, you know,
Mhm. Yeah,
businesses or in media or anywhere you can think of.
yeah, everywhere. Do you think?
Please,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
please, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, you go ahead.
Sorry, sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting. Uh, I wanted to ask, since we are talking about these challenges and all these things, and about the difficulty of independent living to move, to develop and to be, I don't know, to move faster and to see a real change faster. What is the impact in this independent living advocacy and the fight of you and of your organizations? Is it affected also by issues currently like the war in Ukraine, like COVID, like the cost of living because now everything is expensive, or even Euroscepticism, the right movements? Do you think that this any of these factors affect our fight also?
In this respect, I think there is always another crisis that overcomes our needs. So when there is an energy crisis or a climate change crisis, there is a war somewhere in the world like the very worrying invasion of Ukraine at this point, or there is COVID or any other illness or pandemic. So we are always dismissed to be the last thing to worry about. There are always more important things to do, but not improving our life. I insist that they don't fully take us as human beings because I firmly believe that once they do it, things will change more rapidly than until now.
I'm sorry, I was again muted. I think it was a very good point, and I liked your approach, which was like, yeah, you basically said, and correct me if I am wrong, that I mean, we have, these bad situations, the war, the COVID, whatever, the economic crisis, but we always have something, and this is not and disabled people are always left behind and then being not a priority. So in a way, what I understand from you is saying that, okay, bad things are happening, but this is not an excuse to not fight and to not address our problems and to put the disabled people on the side and prioritize other things, because there will be always something.
Right. Right.
Yes.
There will be always something on the way to our reaching our freedom, because we are not actually free, that as well as I do.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean exactly. But okay, now before we go to the discussion about the future and where are we going, I want to ask one last question about the independent living in your country at present, just to have to give people an idea of how it looks like at the moment. So at the moment, how universal is independent living in Spain? Is it for everyone? Just to give an idea, because not everyone knows how it works. So a very basic idea how it works at the moment in Spain.
Well, being such a big country, you understand that there are a lot of territorial differences even between big cities and what villages you have to see. I couldn't say one thing in which we are all of us at the same level of improvement, mainly because I don't know, but I think there is a lot of room for improvement in a lot of areas everywhere, like transport, for example, or housing, for instance. There is there are no plans, no plan for real institutionalization. And as you said before, there is no universal access to a decent scheme of personal assistance all over the country, things like that.
Following back on that, I would like to a clarification from your side. Just because this is something interesting, I think. From the discussions that are currently in the independent living movement in Spain, and in the way people understand it. I mean, I don't judge now if it's wrong or correct, but in the way it is at the moment, do they say that independent living is for everyone, or do they believe independent living is only for, I don't know, wheelchair users or blind people, or the idea is, the idea for the government or in the society is that also people with I mean, autism or intellectual impairments or high support needs, that everyone can live independently. Or this is not yet a philosophy in Spain.
You have just made a good point there because the people don't think that independent living is for everyone. They have this idea that people with high support need they somehow to be cared for and that they are better cared for in institutions or being supervised by somebody else, but not by themselves. That is part of the public authority fear that people will not be able to control their own life if they have high support needs.
And is this a fear only of the public authorities? Or you see also some other groups of the society having the same mentality?
Excuse me?
Is this a mentality and an approach only of the politicians and the public authorities that some people cannot live independently? Or you see it as a mentality also of other groups like, I don't know, some disabled people or families or the society in general?
I think it is general. I think, as I said before, it is part of the social or cultural change that we have the responsibility to change. And that is why our presence is very necessary everywhere we are.
Mhm.
And that is our responsibility, not anyone but ours.
Okay, I keep this message. It is our responsibility. I think it's a very strong one. And okay, now we discussed about the past. We discussed about the present. Let's go to the last part of our discussion and discuss a little bit about the future. First of all, maybe you could tell me, according to your opinion, what is the future of independent living in Europe and beyond? How you imagine independent living? Where you imagine we are going?
Well, first of all, I think of it as an ongoing struggle because the as the word the same as the word will not keep on searching and evolving so as the independently movement have to change and evolve according to our needs at each moment. Like now, it is, for example, being citizens in nature. But when we achieve that, it will be by 10, then it will be education, then you will be access to the cinemas or whatever.
Mhm. Thank you, I see. Uh, what would you say? What would you say should be the priorities for the independent living advocacy in the next, let's say, 5 years? So to be, to have a concrete time frame and not say, priorities forever, but like, let's say now, from what you see, for example, in Spain or in your region, what should be the priorities for the next 5 years in order to have change?
5 years is a very short time period to think of, considering I have been around for 15 years, but I think we should at least or besides continue to target or fight for personal assistance, accessibility, and education. We should maybe try to make stronger alliances with other groups, and most importantly, have accessible information reach to everybody. That way, we will, or rather, our target will be better understood. To make it, in short, to make it a mainstream height, not to be always the same people, but to have other people involved in our problem, which can will be their problem at some point during their life.
Mhm. And what is the role of the younger generation in all this? Because you said not to be all the same people and to involve other people and new people. So yeah, what is the role of young people in this? Do you believe that the young disabled people have a role to play? Are they already playing a role?
As I said, this will take a very long time back, and I will not see the end of it. And I don't think anyone of my generation will. So I think the role the young generation has to play is very, very important to give a continuous or probably better to give. I don't get the right one now. Sorry, to target better for our needs.
Mhm. I think I get what you mean.
That is the idea. It's not the word.
Uh, do you think that there are any specific strategies that we could use to, yeah, to make it happen maybe a little bit faster or a little bit more effective? Maybe we should, I don't know, partner with other organizations of other oppressed people, with other groups like, I don't know, LGBTQI or people of color or feminists or something. Maybe we should, I don't know, partner with companies, with the market. Do you think that, I mean, anything? Do you think that maybe we should do an international campaign or we should stay nationally focused? I don't know. Yeah, are there any strategies you think in your mind that maybe could facilitate?
I say, or I can think of two at this moment. One is to improve our level of information to people, and so to make, for example, this magazine we are talking about, or this interview, it should go somewhere mainstream and not be only in a specific place, which we know has no big audience. And on the other aspect, I wanted to say was we need to re- reinforce those alliances with other groups so that we can somehow align our strategy and that to us together to make everybody think or believe that they are in the same boat as we are. If that boat sinks, we will all go down. Drown.
Yes, thank you, Cesar. We are reaching I'm in the end of the discussion after 1 hour of very interesting and nice exchange. I will keep the message for the end, what you said, that we need to reinforce our alliances with other groups of people and to mainstream, our independent living and disability into everything. I think this is a strong and important message. Before we close, and I leave you continue your vacations and your nice sunny weather in Spain, from what I see. I wanted to ask you, concluding here, if you have any other final words or any thoughts. Maybe I forgot to ask you something. Is there anything else you would like to share before we say goodbye?
Well, maybe I'm not what to say because I am very impatient with things related to independent living, but I should say to people who get to see or we think that this will be a long run. Do not despair about it because in the end things will happen. They can believe it or not.
Thank you. This was a nice.
I don't think I have anything to add, or I would make it all up.
Thank you for this final message. As you said, you are impatient when it comes to independent living, but from our discussion, I understood also the opposite, that you are at the same time impatient, but also very patient and very, projecting things in a long way, step by step, and, understanding that things are not happening in one day or another. But yeah, I am happy for the optimistic message in the end, that you believe that the things will happen and things will change, no matter if it's fast or not fast. So I keep that. And thank you for the discussion.
Well, before we I am speaking to you in slow motion because I am on vacation, but I am usually not like this. I would be yelling or putting my non-existent hair or something.
Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Yeah, and definitely I would never say you are a lazy person. You are one very, how we say it in English, hardworking and, one of the true believers of the movement. And yeah, I would say, and yeah, I don't know if you like the term or not, but I believe you're one of the leaders of our movement. I mean, definitely a leader in Spain, but also in Europe. So thanks a lot for this discussion, for this opportunity. For me, it was also a learning experience. I mean, I am also a few years in the movement and I do stuff, but I always learn by discussing with people like you. So thank you. I think the interview will be very useful for the people that will watch it.
No, thank you, Will, for giving me the opportunity.
Of course,
Thanks to everyone interested in independently because I think we are everybody increasing our numbers. The number of people interested or the amount of people interested in equality, not discrimination for being a disabled person or for being a person with any other condition. Universal accessibility.
yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to be part of this wonderful team.
Thank you, Cesar, and thank you. You said thank you to Enil for allowing you to be part of this wonderful thing. But I think This link is wonderful. The movement is wonderful because we have people. We have people like you. We have people like all the other people who will take interviews and so many other activists. And as you said, the movement is growing. More and more people are out and proud, or as we say, proud, strong, and visible. This is what is important, and yeah, this is what makes me optimistic that the future is bright and will be more independent because we have more and more people and more activists like you joining and spreading the voice in all the corners of Europe and of the world. So also thank you. So with that, I want to say thank you, Cesar Jimenez from the Independent Living Andalusia in Spain, for your contribution. And yeah, let's continue the fight together. Now I will stop the recording.